phone holder is not working great. And of course the lens isn't clean. So give me 1 second here, guys. There we go. We're good. Let me raise this a little bit. Yeah, so unscheduled live show real quick. Wanted to give y'all an update. What's coming up? We got the normal live show is coming on tomorrow, like we do every week, Wednesdays, Saturdays. But I'm going to move the time back. We're starting to get a little crowded in the YouTube community at the 9 o'clock hour. So tomorrow, I want to start the show at 7 o'clock. Now, at 9 o'clock, we're having, crap, I forget. Oh, David Smoke, a big-time guy out of Texas. He covers Baylor sports. He's big in the Big 12. He helps cover for the Dallas Cowboys, a big-time name. So I'm pretty excited for that. He's going to call in at 9 o'clock, and we'll do a little live segment with him. I also have... I think I'm pronouncing this correctly, Q's Corner. If I'm not, I'll make sure to get that right. He'll be on earlier. I think he'll be on at, I'm thinking 8. I was going to have him on at 10, but I'm going to end the show at 10. So I'm going to have him come in a little earlier. Also, I wanted to, where did it go? I had it out. Oh, here we go. I didn't give out the winner earlier on the video because I was still figuring out the scores, but I did come out with a winner. This week, for my score prediction contest, Paul Riggs, he predicted Cincinnati 24, Notre Dame 10. That's only 3 points off, so that was pretty impressive. So, Paul Riggs, congratulations to you, sir. You win $20 this week. And I do apologize to Jay. I'm kind of running behind on sending you your $20. Hold on. But just so you know, Jay, I got you covered. I got your address covered up, but it's going out tomorrow. So your $20 is coming. Got a little bit behind. I had a thing with Uncle Lou I had to do on Saturday. Actually, I didn't have to do it. I wanted to do it. It was amazing. We got to watch, I don't know, maybe 12 football games. I had to leave a little bit earlier and get back to my family. But I had a great time, so a special shout out and a special thanks to Uncle Lou. What I might do now is, if anybody wants me to ask David Smoke a specific question, and trust me, he can answer pretty much anything. The guy knows his stuff. He's in with ESPN. He's in with the Big 12. He's in with Baylor, the Dallas Cowboys. Anything Texas related, he's in there. So send me a super chat of $2 or more. In that super chat, let me know the question you want me to ask him specifically. And then tomorrow, when you ask the question here, this is for now, and then tomorrow in the live show, I'm going to write it down and ask him tomorrow. So if you have a specific question, let me know in this live show. Just a small $2 or more super chat donation, and we'll get that done. So I'm pretty excited about tomorrow's show. David Smoke, that's a big name, guys. That's a big name, and I definitely appreciate him giving me his time because he is a very, very busy man. You can pretty much check him out any day of the week. He's on 365 Sports, and they do an amazing job. They've talked about conference realignment, you know, who's coming in, who could be leaving, you know, how the Big 12 is treating Oklahoma and Texas during this transition period, all that stuff. So he definitely knows his stuff. So that's going to be a great show. And we're also having, I think we're still having John Kurtz and Kuz's Corner. So I have guests lined up. And that's what I want to do moving forward with my live shows. I don't want it to just be me. I want to get some other guests. That way we can have it, you know, the best show possible. And the thing that I'm the most excited about Very excited about this one, guys. And to y'all might not be big news because pretty much everybody has it, but I haven't had it in a while. Actual freaking internet. I am excited to actually have freaking internet. So my live shows are going to be way better, and the regular videos are going to be better too. I saw that comment. He said, Jeffrey said, Golden Blue Dude, you're not talking Maryland to beat Ohio State this week, are you? No. I already got burned once. That's not going to happen again. And speaking of which, I had the worst pick week probably I've ever had this past week. I went 7 wins, 11 losses. So my percentage dropped from 66% to 53%. Yeah, not a good week. I'm still above 500. But I picked a lot of upsets that didn't happen. And that bit me in the rear. I picked Utah State to beat BYU. I picked Utah State to beat BYU. I picked Maryland to beat Iowa. I picked Rutgers to beat Ohio State. Yeah, hindsight 2020. It's stupid now, but it's been one of those years where upsets have been, popular. So I was like, Rutgers, they played Michigan really, really close. That was on the road. They're getting Ohio State at home. Ohio State's looked rough, so I kind of, rationalized it in my head. Same thing with Maryland. I know Iowa they're looking like a playoff team. So that was probably the dumbest. Picking Maryland over Iowa was probably the dumbest out of either of those two. Because at least with the Ohio State Rutgers, you can sort of rationalize it. Maryland beating Iowa, just saying that doesn't make sense. So that was a bad upset pick. I thought BYU was due for upset on the road. They beat some good teams, but it was at home, and Utah State's a good team in the Mountain West. So, yeah. And then Oregon, my goodness, you let me down. Last week, Stanford needs to make up their mind. So 3 weeks ago, it was either three or 4 weeks ago, Stanford beats USC, which I called that. And then the week after that, they took on UCLA. And I missed that pick. So this past week, I'm like, I'm not taking Stanford. I'm going to take Oregon. Oregon's better than UCLA. And then they turn around and actually upset Oregon. So Stanford is hard to predict. At the beginning of the season, I predicted them to be a better team. And I think for the most part, it's true. But I think losing to UCLA kind of threw me off. So I definitely didn't see that upset over Oregon. And I thought Oregon was a better team than what they are because they beat Ohio State. And Ohio State's looking better. So this entire season doesn't make sense, y'all. Picking against the spread has become almost impossible. But we're still above 500. Lowest I've been in a long time, 53%. I'm not happy with that. So Thursdays is whenever I come out with my spread picks. Hopefully, I have a big bounce back week this week because I had a terrible week this past week. Worst week ever, probably. And I went from 66% to freaking 53%. DX Dodge says, do you think Cincinnati is getting enough respect? That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that, and here's why. Cincinnati's really good, and the rankings do reflect that. But the problem is Penn State and Iowa, and of course Alabama and Georgia, they're looking really good as well. So Cincinnati 100% needs Iowa or Penn State to lose. That has to happen because they're going to put Iowa State and they play each other, so it's going to happen. So that's going to help them. So as long as Cincinnati keeps going and beats people convincingly moving forward, then they have a legitimate shot of making the playoffs. It's, don't slip up. And they do get a tough SMU, and I think that's on the road. So all their remaining games are not, quote, gimme games. They do still have a few tests out there, including that game that I mentioned, and then, of course, they have the AAC championship game. They could get paired up with SMU twice in a row, and we all know that beating a good team, and SMU's a good team. I have them ranked. It's really difficult to do. And if Cincinnati loses one of those games, they're out. I'm pulling for Cincinnati. I think they deserve to be in. I already gave out my top 25, my particular top 25, and I have Cincinnati, let's see. I have Cincinnati at 5, only behind Georgia, Alabama, Iowa, and Penn State. If Cincinnati wins this week, then they'll be in my top 4 because Iowa and Penn State play each other. So one of those are going to lose. Michigan is number 6. I'm keeping my eye on Michigan because they're actually looking really good. Gotten burned on them. BYU has a relatively easy schedule left, so they can move up in the rankings. People aren't asking that question. People aren't asking that question. Does BYU have a chance to get into the playoffs? I know their strength of schedule is not very good here on out, but they did beat a good Arizona State, and at the time, what seemed like to be a good Utah, and, maybe BYU was the one that set Utah on this downward trend. I don't know. That's something that's out of your control. You can't help what teams do after you play them. So at the time they played, that's still a good win. I think a lot of things need to happen for BYU to get in. Mainly, the loser of the Iowa-Penn State game, the loser of that game needs to go on and lose a game. Cincinnati probably has to lose a game. And then you're looking at Michigan and Michigan State. They're going to play each other. And, if Penn State loses to Iowa and then beats the winner of the Michigan-Michigan State game, that would help BYU as well. The Big Ten right now looks like the best conference in the nation. And I did a video on that today. I gave them an A- for this past week. Top to bottom. Top to bottom. Don't confuse that with my opinion of the SEC has the best teams. The SEC, by far, has the best teams in Alabama and Georgia. But the Big Ten, from top to bottom, is the best overall conference. Now, it's only week 6. We're coming up on week 6, so there's a lot of football to be played, and all these teams will play each other. So, a lot of things will fall into place. But right now, the Big Ten is looking like the best conference top to bottom. So, we'll see how all that shakes out. Georgia, Alabama, they seem like they're destined to play each other in the SEC championship. I think that's what everybody wants. That's what everybody expects. And if it doesn't happen for whatever crazy reason, that would be a big letdown. I don't see that happening. I see Alabama versus Georgia for the SEC championship. And depending on what happens with all these other teams, if that's a close game and the loser still looks really strong, even the loser could still get in. Depending on what happens in the Big Ten. The Big Ten is the biggest player as far as, who gets 2 members in. I think the ACC is out. I mean, I guess Wake Forest could go undefeated, but I don't know. They wouldn't have any great wins on their schedule. They would have beaten Clemson, but that's not really a good win right now. I mean, does an undefeated Wake Forest get the nod? That's kind of crazy. I think the Pac-12 with Oregon losing to Stanford, that's a bad loss. I think they've played themselves out of the playoffs. So if the ACC and the Pac-12 are eliminated, I think one of the conferences will get 2 teams in. Most likely the SEC, but it could be the Big Ten because crazy things happen, and Iowa and Penn State look strong too. But don't forget about Cincinnati and BYU back there if something happens. And for the Big 12, you have Oklahoma, but Oklahoma doesn't look great. I think Texas, and it's horns down all day, every day. For me, it is. But I think Texas has a really good shot of beating Oklahoma this week. I'm not ready to predict that yet, but, man, it wouldn't shock me. So, if Texas beats Oklahoma, I mean, you still have Oklahoma State. They're undefeated in the Big 12. But I think if Texas beats Oklahoma, that pretty much knocks out the Big 12. A lot of people say, well, if they beat Oklahoma and win out and win the Big 12, they get it. No, Texas is not getting in. They got blasted by Arkansas. It's not a bad loss. It's how they lost. They got blown out. And then what happened? Was it the next week? No, the next week was Texas A&M. 2 weeks later, Arkansas gets hammered by Georgia. Doesn't score one single point. Texas is not getting to the playoffs, guys. It's not going to happen. Even if they win out, beat Oklahoma, whoever, they're not getting in. That loss to Arkansas hurt them really, really bad. Any other outsiders? Let's see. I really don't think so. Wake Forest and, God forbid, Pitt would be the best chance for the ACC. I don't think they're getting in. There's no way. And don't forget about Kentucky. I still have them as the second best team in the SEC East. There's no way they're going into Athens and meeting Georgia. But they could be in for a magical season. I think they're a 10-win team. I actually made that in my preseason predictions. I think I did like 60. No, I did like 50 because I did 2 per, and I covered like 100 teams. And in my preseason prediction for Kentucky, I had them going, I believe it was either 9-3 or 10-2. I think, because the rest of their schedule for Kentucky is not that tough. I have them losing to Georgia, of course, but I think their second toughest game was Florida at home. And I had them winning that, and they did win that, and I think that's going to get them the second spot in the SEC East. Because here's what would have to happen for Florida to win that second spot. Not only would... No, Kentucky would have to lose 2 more times because Florida... Yeah, Florida lost to Alabama, and then they got beat by Kentucky. So the tiebreaker would have to go to Kentucky because they won. So Kentucky would have to lose 3 games. Yeah, correcting myself again. 3 games because Florida already has 2 losses, right? If Kentucky gets 2 losses, they still get the tiebreaker. So Kentucky has to lose 3 games for Florida to finish in second place. Wow. I think it's, I'm not going to say a lock, but it's pretty certain that Kentucky's going to win second place in the SEC East. So that prediction is looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy about that because a lot of people called me a nut. I didn't know what I was talking about. Florida was going to slam them. Florida was going to win second place. And Kentucky was just underrated this year. They had a lot of talent coming back. And that quarterback that they got from Penn State, he's pretty good. He's not elite like national championship quarterback, but he's the quarterback that Kentucky needed. So that was a big win. That was a big get for Kentucky. What about Texas A&M? Where did their offense go, guys? It doesn't exist. I would say Texas A&M, their offense might be worse than Clemson's. At the beginning of the season, who thought that we would be having this conversation? Whose offense is worse, Texas A&M or Clemson? Well, at the beginning of the season, you'd be like, well, probably still really good, just whose is better. No, both of their offenses are trash. Whose is worse? I don't know. I would say Texas A&M. But they both have really bad offenses. Now, what if, they get bowl eligible, maybe a 7-5 team for both of them, and they get matched up in the bowl? Could be possibly the lowest scoring bowl in history. If Texas A&M and Clemson were to get bowl eligible and end up playing each other in a bowl, could set some records for the lowest scoring bowl game, like 3-2, something like that. And that's how bad their offenses are. And both of those teams have pretty decent defenses. So, yeah, it would be super low. Notre Dame, they're pretty much out of the playoff picture. I'm just trying to figure out if there's another outlier. I don't see any. What about Auburn, guys? What about Auburn? This coming week, Auburn gets Georgia at home. Now, Auburn's only loss is to Penn State, which, number one, Penn State's a really good team. Number 2, Penn State's not in the SEC. So think about it. Now, this is a long shot. I get it. Sounds crazy, but bear with me, okay? Auburn gets Georgia this week. Let's say they beat Georgia in a crazy miracle. And then at the end of the year, they beat Alabama at home by some crazy... What if this is a repeat of 2013, guys? That could be... And then Auburn would get into the playoffs because, well, they'd have to beat Georgia twice. But even if they did that, they would be in the playoffs. So, that's a stretch. I know. I get it. That's a stretch. Not going to happen. But if it did, I think that would be crazier than their 2013 season. Although the endings to that Georgia game, remember the miracle pass over top of the defense where I think it hit him on the helmet and then popped into the Auburn's... receiver's arms. And then, of course, the kick 6 against Alabama. We might be headed for something like that. And Auburn is... They're not terrible. So it's not like... If a team were to pull it off, it would be Auburn. They're a good team. They're just not elite. You get the ball to bounce your way. It's at Jordan-Hare. Things happen. So Auburn's a team to definitely keep your eyes on, especially this week. They get Georgia at home. That's going to be a stiff test for Georgia. I think Auburn will test. I think Auburn will test Georgia more than what Arkansas did. SEC Dog said, "Put the barn on." The ML Golden Blue dude. Lose your money. Money line. Okay, I got you. Lose your money. Have you watched Bo Nix play? Stetson Bennett is 10 times better, and that's just fact. Bo is awful. You'll see. Oh. I was agreeing with you, except for Stetson Bennett is better than Bo Nix. No, that's not true. JT Daniels, yes, way better. Stetson Bennett, no. And I'm not saying Bo Nix is good. He's really not. He's a game manager. He's better than what he was against Gus Malzahn. But Stetson Bennett is not a good quarterback, man. That was not... No, I cannot agree with that. That doesn't mean that I'm taking Auburn on the money line. I think Georgia will win that game for sure. I'm not predicting the upset. That was just, hearsay, what ifs as far as Auburn goes. But quarterback versus quarterback, Bo Nix is the better quarterback. The problem is Georgia has a much better defense, a much better wide receiving core, a much better running back stable, a much better offensive line, a much better defensive line. They have everything else that's better. So it doesn't matter that Auburn has the better quarterback. That doesn't matter because Georgia has the better everything else. So that's the only part of the comment that I didn't agree with. Stetson Bennett is not better than Bo Nix. I'm sorry. I can't agree with that. Everything else, yes. I expect Georgia to beat Auburn by at least 2 touchdowns. Even that would be a little close, but I'm going to say being on the road is what keeps it kind of sort of close, but not really. Georgia will be in control pretty much the entire time. Maybe it gets interesting, maybe not. We'll see. But as far as the quarterback battle goes, Stetson Bennett's not better than Bo Nix. Bo Nix is better than Stetson Bennett. But that's not really saying much, though. Stetson Bennett's not a good quarterback. But fortunately for Georgia, they have, better everything else. Even secondary. Better secondary corners, linebackers, defensive line, offensive line, receivers, running backs, everything else. Georgia is better. It's just that quarterback. But that's not going to make a difference. So don't get that twisted and make it seem like I'm predicting Auburn. Because I'm not. Advantage is definitely for Georgia. Because here's the thing. Even when you have a better quarterback, he's not that much better, and he's not a great quarterback, and it's not enough to overcome that Georgia defense. That Georgia defense is going to eat him alive. The thing that does help Auburn is Bo Nix has legs, so maybe he can keep the sacks down. But then again, we saw what Georgia did against KJ Jefferson at Arkansas. Texas T-Sip Central in the house, he said, "I'll bet you a hot Pepsi Texas beat Oklahoma on Saturday." I'm not going to take that bet because I think Texas does it too. Big Out says, Deggy isn't good, but he can make some plays if you give him a pocket. Yeah, and the problem with Deggy, West Virginia's quarterback, for those of you that don't know, is if he would learn how to step up in the pocket instead of trying to move side to side and step into the sacks, he would actually buy himself at least another second and a half. So a lot of that is on him. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. I just wanted to do a quick 30-minute live show, give y'all some updates, talk just a little bit of college football. Live show tomorrow. We're going to start at 7 p.m. For those of you who weren't here earlier, 7 p.m. is when we're going to start tomorrow. We have David Smoke. He's in with ESPN 365 Sports, the Dallas Cowboys, all things Baylor, even the Texas Shorthorns. He knows his stuff. He's going to be on at 9 o'clock. I'm going to have Kuz's Corner on either 7 or 8, and still trying to get John Kurtz as far as the time availability. Good live show coming tomorrow, guys. And we're starting it early, 7 p.m. So if you tune in at 9, you're probably going to miss a little bit, some good stuff. So that's why I'm trying to give y'all a heads up. We're starting this at 7 o'clock. So just want to give y'all a heads up. And for those of you who weren't here, it was Paul Riggs that won the score prediction contest. And if you want to get in on the score prediction contest, all you have to do is go over to my Patreon page. We have the gold, the blue membership. That's $4.99 a month. Gold membership, that's $9.99 a month, and the champion membership, that's $19.99 a month. If you join the blue membership, you get one guest prediction per week, not per month, not per season, per week. Gold membership, 2 guest predictions. Champion memberships, 4 guest predictions. And you can win $20 as many times as you can. So if you're really good at guessing score predictions, you can run the table, win it every stinking week. So if you want to get on that, go over to my Patreon page and check it out. All right, I'm going to get off here, guys. Got some stuff to do. Just wanted to give y'all a quick update. Hey, we got a decent little crowd for an impromptu live show, so I appreciate y'all supporting Golden Blue Dude. So y'all have a good rest of your day, and I still have to actually go to work and work a few hours, so it is what it is. I'll see y'all tomorrow.